This is how I turn my cold Instagram traffic into buyers. Let's see what happens when one of our ICPs enters our ecosystem. Either they enter our ecosystem because we found them organically via our content and they thought it was very valuable because we're essentially showing them how they can solve a specific problem via our content, or we leverage our software to get in contact with them where we're doing 50,000 interactions every single day. But this is how we generate the traffic towards our profile. Now that they're inside our ecosystem, they started following us. They are now in the middle of funnel. And this is where we prove that we can solve their specific pain point with our unique solution. And we do this by showing people exactly like them having solved their specific problem with our solution. Now they move to our bottom of funnel. This is where they start trusting us. And they start trusting us, especially when we push out testimonials, when we push out how we exactly solve their specific pain points with our solution, breaking down the unique mechanism that we utilize to solve that problem. What happens now is essentially our ICP goes through a psychological staircase. Essentially, they start taking my advice because they entered my ecosystem. So they must have thought something I said in my organic content was valuable. So they essentially go through this authority realization bias, and this is where they start implementing the tips that I actually give in my content, the free value that I give. What happens now? Now they enter our ecosystem, and now in my profile they'll see proof, and this is where they go through a confirmation bias. This is essentially where they see people exactly like them having solved that specific problem with my unique mechanism over and over and over again. And now they go through to our bottom of funnel, and this is where we leverage the psychological concept of FOMO. And this is where trust increases continually because they keep seeing other people exactly like them winning. We leverage video testimonial, and this is sort of where they get emotionally attached to the outcome that we're showing them. And also, we're leveraging the emotional part of the brain, but also the kind of more facts, evidence part of the brain, where we're giving them screenshots of cold hard results that people exactly like them have achieved with our unique mechanism. So this turns into evidence that our prospects believe. So via our profile, our clients, our potential clients, goes through an authority perspective via our dialed-in Instagram profile, prove that we can solve that specific problem with our specific solutions, and they also get the feeling of FOMO because they see so many people in their industry having experienced their specific pain points, having solved their specific pain points with our unique mechanism, going from point A to point B with our solution. So essentially, our prospects go from problem aware, and this is in the top of funnel. They go from problem aware. This is where we get them into our ecosystem, and they sort of see us as an authority because we have a dialed-in Instagram profile, to solution aware. They see that they can actually solve their specific pain points with our unique mechanism because other people have done it, and urgency because we keep pushing the exact people in their industry having solved their specific pain points with our unique mechanism over and over and over again. So this is where they start feeling fear of missing out. So either they get into our ecosystem by the value we provide in our organic content, such as a reel, as I mentioned before, the authority realization bias by seeing our profile and how dialed in it is with an authoritative biography. In our middle of funnel, this is sort of where our prospects experience a paradigm shift. They experience a paradigm shift because they now know that their pain points are solvable via our solution because other people, via testimonials, have solved this problem. This is where they go through a confirmation bias. And when now they are very warm leads, we leverage FOMO and we leverage stories. Stories we push out every single day of client results. So as I mentioned before, we need to trigger the emotional part of their brain and also the logical part of their brain. We do this with testimonials, as I mentioned before, where they get emotionally attached to this specific outcome because they see another person exactly like them going from point A to point B exactly as they want to. And also the logical part of their brain, just straight up seeing how much their competitors are printing. So all of these aspects turns into cash collected for me and my clients from leveraging these psychological triggers. A motivational moment in combination with consistent proof is a sure way to generate customers because your potential clients are experiencing these feelings every single day at huge volumes. They either hit rock bottom, they have an identity shift in somebody, they get a money surplus or a confidence boost. These are all normal human feelings and normal experiences. So, why not leverage this to your own advantage? And you do this with showing your prospects consistently daily testimonial exposure, exposing them to other people exactly like them winning with your unique solution. You're essentially accumulating social proof in your specific industry, and you're making it a very relatable win when you do this to your ICP because they're seeing people exactly like them winning. So this will slowly eliminate any sort of doubt in their mind that they have about your unique mechanism because you are accumulating social proof, you are accumulating testimonials, you are accumulating all of these essential elements to convert your cold traffic to sold traffic. So, yeah, essentially, when your clients see a person exactly like them winning, they get this feeling of FOMO. And this is solely because they see your unique mechanism solving your ICP's problem over and over and over again. So essentially, let me show you a graph of how this works. Over time, when your prospect enters your ecosystem, every single time you publish a piece of content, it will elevate your perceived authority if you're making the right content. Leveraging your perceived value and authority with buyer motivation. You don't have any control over the buyer motivation, but you have an extreme control over your perceived value by the exact sort of content frameworks that you are leveraging, by essentially showing how you can solve your specific ICP's pain points by your content assets and essentially giving out free value and generating traffic towards your profile. This is what you have control over. You don't have any control over the buyer motivation. This is just the volume combination that you are leveraging to create a buying moment. Because essentially, when you have a lot of followers, when you have accumulated a lot of followers, you will randomly meet a motivational peak in your customers. And when they have consistently seen the proof that you can solve that specific problem, this is when you create a buying moment. And this is where you generate cold hard cash into your business.